right, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're at on the planet right now. All right, so just doing a quick refresher, making sure everything shows up correctly. There we go, nice. All right, and if we have any questions today, please feel free to share them in the chat, and I will answer them while I'm painting. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy, and we're painting ballet shoes today. We've got a rather limited, simple color palette today. We're going to do kind of a medium blue background. We'll do light pink ballet shoes, and then the skin tone for the feet is going to be kind of a light tan. Now, with any of these, you have full permission to switch up colors. If you want different colored ballet shoes or a different colored skin tone or background, full permission to switch out what you want. Now, what you're looking at on my canvas here, I'm on an 8x10 panel, and it's kind of flat. Some of you may be painting on a stretched canvas where there's going to be a little bit more width on the side. If you're painting on a stretched canvas, when you bring that background color to the edge, just carry that around the sides, so that way when you hang it on the wall, it looks nice having that color wrap around the edge. Now for our image here, we do have it pre-drawn on our canvas, and you've got two options to get this on your canvas. You can pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video for the painting portion. Or in the description box below, there is a link to what I call a traceable. And a traceable is something that you purchase, download it, print it out, and then with carbon paper, you're going to transfer it to your canvas. And I'm not sure if you can see it at home, but there's a little bit of a line right here. When you transfer with the traceable and the carbon paper, it's going to be a lot lighter line, so it's really easy to cover with your paint. For here, I actually went over all my lines with black Sharpie marker. For those of you that are going to draw freehand at home, draw what you see to make it easier. So just a little bit of a difference for those of you that might be using the traceable. All right, so what we're going to be doing today is getting rather comfortable with our wet on wet blending. We're going to kind of lay our base colors for each one, and then we'll lay in a darker and a lighter color. So you'll get kind of comfortable with that. Now, I am using kind of a medium flat brush just because I'm on a small canvas. If you need a larger brush or smaller, feel free to switch it out. And for the background, I'm going to start with kind of a medium blue. So I'm pulling some of this white aside, little bit of blue, and you can tell that the white kind of tones it down, but you can make it whatever shade that you want. And we're going to be filling in from the edges of the lines to the edges of the canvas. So while you're filling that in, try a few different brush strokes. You've got the full width brush stroke, turn it sideways a little bit smaller, and then make X marks. So try all three of those as you're filling in your background. And let me take a look. I see some chat happening. All right, so nice. And we got a few new people on here. Excellent. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And something to note from some comments and emails that I've been getting, don't feel like you have to keep up with the pace for these little 30 and 40-minute demos. I highly recommend that you utilize pausing the video, painting what you need, and then picking it back up and go at your pace. Because these are 30-minute demos, I paint rather swiftly, so you do not have to paint this fast. But glad you're here. Like I said, let me know any questions and any suggestions that you guys want for demos in the future. And I'll be restructuring the demos to where we're going to do a premiere, to where it'll be a already filmed and edited, videoed, and we'll go step by step and we can kind of talk about that. So those will be on Fridays. And then Saturday and Sunday, I'm still going to do the live demo like this. So just kind of structuring stuff differently as things in the world are changing, and I'm working a little bit more. Some gigs are coming back, so slowly getting back into a new balance. All right, and as you're painting, if you happen to paint anything on the inside of your ballet shoes, just because we're going to go with lighter colors, take a paper towel and wipe it off if you get any of your background color on your legs or on the ballet slippers. So yeah, you'll just wipe it off and then we'll apply the paint on top of it. So as we're moving into smaller areas like this, if you need to jump down and grab that small pointy brush, go right ahead, or try holding that brush and using it sideways and just getting a little bit more comfortable with the different positions and holding the brush. All right. And I'm going to fill in the last bit of that side, and then we'll do some wet on wet blending. And for those of you that are first time painters, and if you have to mix your color a second or third time, don't stress about the exact same shade. When we do the wet on wet blending, that's where we're going to kind of change it up. So basically don't stress about anything today. You have enough other stresses in the world that painting does not need to be one of them. All right. And again, switch brushes as needed. And with this wet on wet blending, you do want to do it while your background is wet, hence the name. And what we're going to do is we're going to introduce new color onto here. We're going to use more of the darker blue, and then we'll also use some of the pure white as well. All right, so let's start with just that blue. So grab a little bit with your brush, and I'm going to place this in a few areas on the canvas, and then I'm going to wipe my brush off, and then we'll go back to blend it. And for those of you that are here for the first time, this is a concept that gets more comfortable with more practice. So if this is the first time that you're doing your wet on wet blending, basically be nice to yourself and try to be nice to yourself more often in your life. All right, so we put a little bit of dark blue here, and that's going to be a bit of a shadow since this is where the ballet slippers would be touching the ground. So wipe off that excess paint, and you've got two different blending styles you can try. First one, and I kind of like holding the brush at about that 45-degree angle, and it's a bit of a tapping method, or sometimes we call it a stabbing method. You can't even do it perpendicular. And that's a kind of a nice way that it picks up the background color and the new color. Or the one that I kind of like is it's a push and a smear. So medium pressure, and you just kind of push that new color into the base underneath color. And it's kind of a back and forth process. Each one of you will find your own kind of groove with blending, and there's really no one right or wrong way for it. You're just going to find what works for you. And you'll also find that your variables will affect the blending. So if you paint inside and it's easy to paint, no problem, and then maybe you paint outside the next day and you realize you have to go faster because your paint is drying quicker. So you're constantly adjusting to your own variables. So I went back and added a little more blue just because I wanted that a little bit darker, kind of where the toes of the ballet slippers are touching the ground. So if you need to, you can go back and add more color. And then you can also add lighter color. So you can take some of that white, maybe slap it on here. Let's put it in a few other areas. And then again, wipe that brush off, and same concept. And you'll notice that your lighter color is actually going to diffuse pretty quickly in with your base, compared to the darker color is a little bit more powerful when you're blending. So with more and more practice, you get comfortable with your style of blending. All right, and let's see, I forgot to call everybody out. We've got Mike, and I'm not quite sure how to pronounce your name, Miss Smith, Ellery. Probably pronounced that wrong, sorry. It's my forever curse. We've got Annette and Denise and Terry here for the first time, and Photography Queen and Neva and Rhonda and Tammy. All right, I think I saw everybody. We are going next week to the eye doctor for glasses so I can read a little better. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining and taking time out of your day to hang out with me and catch this live. All right, so we're going to clean the brush really good. We're actually going to do the skin tone first, and then we'll come in with our pink ballet slippers. So I tend to make all my skin tones tan just because that's my skin tone, but you have full permission to change up colors if you want. And let me go ahead and I'm going to go through a few different color combos you can do. The one I'll probably use is, we'll start with the white and a little bit of tan, a little bit of raw sienna to make it that tan. If you wanted a little bit pinker, use a little bit of the raw sienna and then a tiny amount of red, and that was way too much red right there, so you might have to adjust your skin tone color. Okay, so the raw sienna brings it, kind of warms it up, and then the red can make it a little bit pinker. And if you need to go for darker skin tone, you can take the raw sienna, you can always add more of it to the white, but if you need to go even darker, small amount of black and raw sienna, and again, a little bit goes a long way, can help you get to some of your darker shades and your pretty skin tone colors. So feel free to adjust your skin tone to what you need. And if you even have a specific bottle of acrylic paint, because I know they do make them in the different skin tone variations, you can use just that. But like I said, for mine, I'm going to just go with a kind of a light tan, so the white and the raw sienna. And again, we're going to start with kind of a light base, and then I'm going to go a little bit darker and then a little bit lighter. All right. And kind of close. All right, so again, doesn't matter what your skin tone actually is. We all bleed the same underneath our skin. So whatever color you choose. So as we go through on the legs, we do have a couple of like bands here that would be part of the ribbon. If you happen to paint over those, not too big of a deal because our pink is actually going to be a bit more of a stronger color, but try to kind of just give it that space so it doesn't affect your color. And in between these little X marks here, and I'm bringing mine right on top of those Sharpie marker lines just because I want to cover those up. And I'm not sure if I'll do it on this one. We'll decide a little bit later, but if you did want to do the black outlines to give it a bit of that pop art feel at the end, looks kind of cool. We did that yesterday on the, oh no, 2 days ago on the Tweety Bird. All right, and just filling in the other side. If you happen to have very slow drying or a very fast drying paint, you may want to watch as I do this whole thing, and then if your paint dries really fast, watch the whole thing and then just take it section by section. Like I said, you do have to adjust based on the variables with your tools and variables for what you're creating. And as we move into the shading, adding the extra color in here, I will move down to the small pointy brush. Now, if you are using student grade paint, which is what I'm using here, I mainly teach first time and beginner painters, so I want to use the tools that I recommend for you to use. So student grade paint's really nice, and it's not going to break your bank for purchasing materials and finding out if you enjoy the painting process before you go buy, you know, even better materials. So you may have to adjust a little bit based on your paint. So for student grade paint, it is on the transparent side, so you can kind of put one coat on, let it dry, and then put another coat on, or you can apply it a little bit thicker, and that'll give you a little bit more opaque coverage. So like I said, just adjust based on what you need with your variables and your tools in front of you. All right, so we're gonna go a little bit darker. So I like to actually put a bit more of the raw sienna next to my mixture so I can slowly pull it in, just to see how much darker I want to go. And we're going to basically place this right on top. It's just like when we put the darker blue on top of the medium blue. We're going to place this right on top, and then I'm going to wipe my brush off and I'll go back and kind of blend it in. And again, we're imagining that this is kind of the shadow. So it is going to hang out close to the little black outlines from the Traceable. But we're also not going to be filling this in huge areas, just selectively. And by doing our value scale, and that's kind of what this is, we're doing 3 shades. We have our main color, our dark color, and then our light color. And you can create nice depth and nice illusion with literally 3 shades. So that's what I focus on a lot on the demos and in my teaching. All right, so let's grab a little bit more of that raw sienna. And again, I'm just kind of slapping it into a few places, and then we're going to go back and blend it in, soften that transition, that sharp line a little bit more. All right, so wipe that brush off, and I'm going to do a bit more of the kind of the push and smear. So kind of right on the edge, and as I'm looking at the video, it looks like it's doing okay. And actually it doesn't look like it's been buffering as much, so I'm trying a different setup today. So let me know if the audio is turning out okay for you guys, or if it's wobbled or distorted. It's never a dull moment. All right, so here again, just kind of a push and a smear a little bit, and it's almost like making little dash marks on there, and all that did was just kind of soften that line from the dark part to the lighter area. And if you need to, wipe that brush off and then go back to another area and do the same thing. All right, and don't think too much about this, don't overthink the process. And if you're not sure if this is working, prop your painting up, look at it from a distance of about 5 to 10 feet away, and notice if it's starting to have a bit more of a 3D effect from that distance. And when you're looking at your artwork from that distance, that's the normal viewing distance for most things in life, and especially for artwork. All right, so we're actually going to go just a touch darker, not much. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that raw sienna. I'm going back to that raw sienna and a little bit of black. And again, we're going to be very sparing with where we put this. And this particular mixture, I'm going to take what's on my brush and then go back to here, so that way I'm kind of pulling from what I was using when I was applying it to the canvas and just making it a touch darker. And this is diffused a little bit more to where this is a bit more bold. So this is closer to what I need. All right, so again, just going one shade a little bit darker. And I want you to just notice where it's placed and mimic that to the best of your ability on your canvas. And it doesn't have to look exactly like my painting. It's going to look like yours, and it's going to look like you're learning, and nothing is wrong with that. Each time that you paint, you learn a little bit more. And each time that you paint, what you painted prior makes a little bit more sense because it's had some time to kind of hang out and marinate in your brain and understand a little bit more. So painting is never about being perfect, but just kind of learning something new, maybe painting a little bit better than you did the last time. But again, just be kind to yourself. I want more and more people painting because it is a therapeutic outlet and it relaxes people, and we need more relaxed people in this world. All right, so all I did again was just go back and kind of smush that color into the other one. And as I'm looking at the video, just that little bit of darkness gave me some nice depth, and I can see a difference between this leg and this leg right here. So just to take it one step further before we move into the ballet slippers, I'm going to take a little bit of that white, place it right on top, and I'm being rather generous because we already started with kind of a light color to begin with. So being a little bit more generous with this application will make it a little more bold, and it gives me a little bit more room to kind of blend in. So I applied the white in those specific places, and then now just going back and where the two colors meet, literally just kind of tapping my brush on top of it, smushing the perimeter between the two colors together, and again, just softening that transition. All right, so now clean that brush really good. I'm going to move back up to this medium flat brush, and we're going to make a light pink. Same thing, we're going to fill in the whole space, and then we're going to go in with a little bit of a darker and then a little bit lighter. So trying to build on the same skills throughout the whole video today. Okay, so tiny, tiny, tiny amount of red goes a long way to make your shade of pink. So start off light. You can always add more, but literally, like I said, I like to put it on the side, leave what's on the brush, and look at how quickly that brought it to a light pink. So your call. And as I was looking at ballet slippers, I know some of them are kind of on the tan side. So if you wanted to make a light tan, it would kind of fight with the skin tone. So I recommend a different color. But if you did want to keep it more traditional to what they had, you can use your raw sienna instead of red. All right, so I'm going to make these a little bit more pink, just so we have a bit more contrast for the video. But you get it to whatever shade that you want. for the main color of your shoes. And because I have the black Sharpie marker on here from outlining the traceable before we started, it will shine through on the pink. So I'm actually just going to paint right over the edges. You'll still be able to see them on the video. And again, if you have to mix your pink a second, third, or fourth time, don't stress or freak out about getting it perfect. All right, so kind of like you can see here, because I did overlap that blue, you can still see that blue shining through. So we're going to go back and apply a little bit more thick paint. And as I look at the chat, I see a question popping up, so let me look at that. Apply that thicker paint. And when you're applying your paint a little bit thicker, again, kind of notice how I'm holding that brush at that 45-degree angle. This allows you to apply that paint thicker and not have the bristles kind of hit back to the canvas. So again, the more that you paint, the more you kind of just get comfortable with holding the brush and applying the pigment. All right, so let's see. We got a question. Where is the best place to sign a painting? And do you need to add the month and the year? Good question, Denise. The general and most traditional place that people sign artwork is generally the bottom right-hand corner. In contemporary artwork, some people sign the left side. Some abstract artists would actually sign the edge or sign the back of the painting. It's really gotten more to just personal choice of what you want to put on your artwork and where. I don't know when it actually changed from people not putting the date on there. And most of the time they would just put the year, not necessarily the month and the date that it was created. But there was something where that started to shift in art history, and I can't quite recall that. But again, your call if you want to put the month and the year on there at all. You can use a brush to kind of sign your name after everything's done, or even a Sharpie marker. Some people put their full name, some people put their initials, some people actually have a little call tag that, they'll put a little symbol. I had a friend of mine that his last name was Fish, so he'd draw fish instead of write his last name. And I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, your call, and that just adds to your own creative style for your artwork. All right, and again, if the large brush is too much, move down and grab your small pointy brush at any time. And again, I'm just going over these just because that Sharpie marker is so bold that I can see through it. And I remember teaching a painting like this, very similar, for a couple of girls' birthday parties, 8 and 12 years old, and they all showed me all of their dance ballerina moves. It was quite a fun event. So this is a cue painting. So if you're inclined to have a paint party, a Zoom paint party, you are more than welcome to use any of my videos for that. I just ask that maybe you send me a photo of everybody holding their painting up, and I'll post that on social media. But any of my videos on YouTube, if you want to host your own paint night, go for it. And I actually had a couple emails yesterday. Any libraries, educators, you again are more than welcome to use any of my videos in your facility. And I've got a couple of libraries, I think I've got about a dozen now, that have added, they've got staff members that, found my channel, and then they've been teaching or facilitating classes in their space. So I love that. And part of the reason I created the channel was a kind of a response to art being cut out of schools. All right, so let's see, we got another question. Patron members for the ballet slippers. So for patron, I'm about a week behind on getting all the traceables up. And it's just because I don't put them up until the the video has played and aired. So those will probably pop up on the Patreon page maybe a little over a week from today. I think I'm due to schedule all the new ones out next week. All right, so adding a bit more red to my mixture. And this one I am going to switch down to the small pointy brush. All right, so going a little bit darker, and same thing, we're going to place this in a few areas, and then I'm going to wipe the brush off and go back and we'll blend it in. Let's go a little bit darker. I like high contrast. All right, so let's see. We're going to have a little bit underneath this strap. Here, a little bit. And again, just observe where I'm placing these and do your best to mimic that on your canvas. As you do this, you are strengthening your power of observation. And strengthening your power of observation will benefit just about every aspect of your life. Being more observant helps everything in the world, really. All right, so again, just placing these in a few carries. These are the shadows. And again, if you have to mix that color second or third time, does not have to be the same. I actually made that a little brighter. Just adds for more variety for you. And this shadow is going to be here. Okay, oh, let's get one back here. All right, so wipe that brush off. And then just like we've done on the legs and in the background, whichever method you're finding helpful, go back and kind of blend it in. If you need to, if your paint is starting to dry kind of quickly, go back and make that light pink. And you can, I was gonna say right here, it's a little bit wet. You can actually go back in and reapply the light pink, and then that way you can mix it with the darker pink. So when you get into this blending, it's not just a straightforward approach. You may have to adjust based on how fast or slow your paint is drying, how fast or slow you may actually be painting. So painting's always adjusting. So again, just kind of going around, softening any of the lines between the two shades. And then we'll apply some white. And that will kind of bring us into that final step for our painting. So no matter what you paint today, email me photos of what you paint or tag me on social media. And it's just paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com or hashtag or @paintwithlovejoy. But it really is from your guys's sharing of your work, encouraging your friends to give it a try. They believe you way more than they believe me. That I can teach them to paint. So please share the word, spread the word, share the fun. Hopefully we can get some more relaxed people in this world. Okay, and I am thinking this would actually look much nicer with a black outline. So we might end up doing that. And oh, we're just now at 30 minutes, so not bad. Okay, so clean that brush out. We're gonna grab that white paint. And again, I'm going to kind of slap this in a few areas and then we'll blend it in and then we'll do that black outline. And if you want to, if you're getting kind of comfortable with the wet on wet blending, go ahead and even just try blending it in each time that you apply the white. You know, in painting, it's constantly about challenging yourself and kind of leveling up your skills as often as you can. It's a very rewarding feeling. Okay, and then wipe that brush off and go back and kind of blend that white into the lighter pink. And then remember to get out of that chair, look at your painting from a distance. Is it, do you need more white somewhere? Do you need a lighter color or darker color somewhere? But just kind of assess what you are seeing from your painting. Okay, so let's see, let's soften that as I'm looking on the screen. And again, as you look at it from that distance, you might come in and go, oh, I need to soften this area, I need more here. So don't be afraid to adjust. All right, so I'm gonna clean the pointy brush out. Actually, I'm gonna grab the smaller one. And we're gonna do black paint, and we're gonna do an outline. So as you're working on your outlines, play with the pressure of your brush. Light pressure is going to give you small skinny lines. More pressure is going to be a little bit wider, fatter lines. And as we do this, I actually want you to kind of go for a medium width line to where some of it's overlapping the background and overlapping your design. I do recommend highly let your paint fully dry before you do this black outline. It's just going to make it easier for you, and you'll have less contamination of getting your pink or your other colors in the black. I'm not going to wait for it to dry, just given that this is the demo, but at home you can wait and let it dry. So as you're doing this and working with the brush, a few things, you may notice that your brush is kind of shaky as you go to apply the paint. That actually means you are holding your breath. So exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, and that will help with your process and you'll be less shaky. If you even need to talk or hum anything while you are painting, that just helps keep the continual breathing. So it does not help to hold your breath. And if you need to, rest your forearm against the edge of the table. That's kind of what I'm doing, even though you can't see it. Or put your pinky out onto a dry spot and use that as your pivot point. So that way you're not trying to hold your hand steady and keep light pressure at the same time. And then again, notice that kind of each time that I go to apply paint, I grab more paint. And if you need to, you can add a touch of water to your brush. You never want your brush dripping wet with water, but a little bit of water is going to help with the fluidity of your paint, and it'll make it a little bit easier to make some of these lines. So again, this just gets more comfortable with more practice. If this happens to be way too frustrating, let your paint dry, and you can do this with a Sharpie marker after it's fully dry. I don't want you to get so frustrated that you don't paint again, so find your ways to modify and adjust so that way you're excited to go back and do it again. And once you've gotten to the point to where you're really comfortable with painting and you're ready to kind of take your skills to the next level, check out my online school, Paint with Lovejoy, and check out my signature Paint Your Pet class. And we kind of build on a lot of the skills that I do in the demos and my other videos. But when you paint something that you love, which is your pet, and most of my friends love their pets more than their family members, so when you paint something you love, you actually put a lot more effort and energy into it. And with the Paint Your Pet class, we work on the value scale even more. So you'd get to dive into that concept and really impress yourself in pet paintings. I've been teaching that class for about 7-8 years now, and I'm still just amazed at what the students create and how excited they get and how much they impress themselves because they thought they couldn't do it. They thought they couldn't paint their pet, or they thought they couldn't paint, period. So no matter what, keep challenging yourself creatively, professionally, personally. Keep pushing your boundaries to develop into the person you want to be. All right, so add a little bit of water now. All right, and then again, just let me know since I'm trying out a new tech option. I actually kind of went back to one that was working a couple of months ago. But let me know if there's any weird audio stuff happening or if you've got weird video lags. Hopefully trying to get to the right combination of stuff here. But this current combo seems to be okay as far as processing. All right. Oh, and I see a few more. Let's see. Oh, and Think Art, thanks for jumping on. I think I've seen some of you guys' work before. Awesome. Or your videos out there on YouTube. All right, so almost done with this painting. Got just a few little cross-section slippers to do. Again, if you want to change out colors, if you didn't want to do the black outline, but maybe do it teal or red, go for it. All right. So again, as we conclude this painting, these last little strips, really grateful for you guys hanging out with me and sending me all your photos. You're doing great. It's just been nice to see how everybody's evolved and continuing to grow. All right. Not bad. So again, yeah, if you want to sign your painting, generally that bottom right-hand corner. But yeah, this turned out cute. I think tomorrow's a raven. I'm not sure. That's what I see on the on my boards over there. But like I said, I'm going to continue all the videos that are currently on there for the future, and then hopefully by this weekend I can get the rest of the schedule out there for the next couple of months. And I've uploaded some watercolor tutorials, so we'll release one of them possibly next week for our premiere demonstration that we're going to try out. But yeah, it's been going great. So let me know what you guys want painted in the future. Send me your photos, and I will catch up with you tomorrow at 11. So have a great day.